Hi, this is Paul Palmer. Today I want to talk about the difference between an enabling function and what I call a core function. But also Porter has a different name from it. He calls it I think it's part of the value chain. So it's a strategic tool that was developed in the US by Michael Porter. And he looks at the way that the different teams contribute to the value creation of the company, he calls it a firm rather than a company or organization. And the reason it's important for us in pharmaceutical manufacturing is because many teams, many departments feel that they're, or behave, I suppose, a bit, can behave a bit independent, separate from the business. And I think, well, I'm here to do my job and you're here to do yours. And I need all the money that I need because my job's important. And they fail to realize why a business is there, why they're in that company, that firm, that organization, and what the requirements are, what the output is needed at the other end. So I just want to run quickly through it now using Porter's value chain model. I've got a copy behind me, but it's actually quite easy to find online. Just look up Porter's value chain model. And the way that he explains it is you've got primary activities and support activities. Well, the support activities are what I call the enablers, the ones that actually allow the primary activities in the pharmaceutical companies to operate and to supply the product to the market. Because without the enablers, for example, quality, if you don't release the goods, well, you don't ship it, do you? So you're not doing the work, so you can't make money. Or regulatory, if you don't register a product and keep it up to date with the correct license, the correct specification, then you can't place it on the market. So the value chain model is quite a simplified version, but it does make sense for us to analyze our businesses in the same way. Although we need to put our own department names in there rather than the ones that he includes. So primary activities. So think about your business, think about your manufacturing process, think about the way that the company makes money. So you've got inbound logistics. So things come in ready to make the product. You've got operations. Now that could be manufacturing, it could be packaging, it could be other activities, but call it operations because that's quite a common term even in pharmaceuticals. Then you have outbound logistics. So you've brought it, you've made it, and now it's in the warehouse and you want to ship it. Now it could be that you're shipping it to another warehouse, or you could be shipping it to a customer, a pharmacy, or a hospital or something. So you've got your outbound logistics where you can send it. Then you've got sales and marketing. Well, sales and marketing, well, you have to make the sales to be able to start at the beginning. And this is what I call a pull model. So you're marketing it to make sure people are aware, selling it to actually close, I suppose, is probably the easiest way. But selling has to take the orders and put them into the system that allows the inbound logistics to start. And you pull in product through the process. And then afterwards, potentially you've got service, depending on what your product is. If you've got something that utilizes a medical device for administration of the drug, maybe you have some sort of service function for that piece of equipment. But in most cases, there's no service function within pharmaceuticals. But of course, I provide a service function. I provide a service in that I'm a consultant to pharmaceutical companies. So it's relevant, and it's relevant enough to leave in the model. Then he's got 4 areas in the support activities, which we'll start with, and then we'll look at what we should be using in pharmaceuticals. So you've got procurement, purchasing, technology development. It's probably based around IT, and could be robotics. Human resource management, the people that you've got in the company, and infrastructure, firm's infrastructure. Well, firm's infrastructure could be quite a wide range of different things. So let's think about how this applies to the pharmaceutical organization. So you've got the same primary activities. They're exactly the same. You might want to tag something extra on the front of it. Probably relates to the sales though. The customer services is often dialing out, so outbound marketing. So that's really in the model already. Purchasing, of course, they need to make sure that the materials are there to be able to do the operation. Technology development. Well, usually we've got information technology. We might have a development team, maybe some clinical practice. So technology development and development of new products, I suppose, is probably a better way to put it. But that's not part of the primary activity. It's a support activity. It's a secondary. It's an enabler to make sure that you've got products again in the future. Human resources. Well, we all need people. Human resources to stay the same. Now, the complicated part in pharmaceuticals is infrastructure. So what other departments have you got in your organization that are not part of the primary activities? Now, these are the ones that are needed for the primary activities to operate, but they're not actually directly involved in what is called the value chain. So the value chain is where it brings some money in. So it goes from one stage to the next stage, usually adding value at each stage before it gets shipped out to the end customer who purchases the product from you, where you actually realize the value. Quality. Quality, you can see, as part of the infrastructure. Then you've got regulatory affairs, medical information, pharmacovigilance. The pharmacovigilance is now often part of medical information. Customer services, of course. Finance, or you might call them accounting. So there's just a few examples of what you would call the support activities. I suppose some maintenance team, engineering. And you want to think about what else you've got within your company. Which other departments are the enablers rather than the core business? And the reason I want you to understand it is because when you've got an enabler versus a primary activity which adds value, then you want to keep the cost down. But in addition to that, you want to enhance efficiency. So for example, if I'm in a quality team and I delay the release for 3 weeks, well, the outbound logistics can't ship the product for 3 weeks. So that needs to be added into the lead time. And then you've got your operations. They have to be earlier in the lead time. Inbound logistics needs to be earlier in the lead time. And of course, we omitted the analytical test laboratory, which of course is a support activity as well. Now, the delays in quality assurance and quality release in it is usually analysis. Maybe you've got an out of spec, maybe you've got out of trend, and maybe somebody takes 2 weeks to investigate. But actually, on the day one, they usually have the information that they need to carry out that investigation, but they're too busy with the next batch to complete the investigation. So if you had somebody that was focused 100% on out of specification investigations all the time, yes, you've added cost to the business. So let's assume that you're looking at £20,000. But we've got maybe 20 batches throughout the year that have been delayed by 3 weeks. So 3 weeks, I've not made it easy for myself, have I? 3 weeks out of 52. I should have worked this out beforehand. Sorry. 52 divided by 3. So we're looking at 17% of the year. So say we're being charged at 5%. So we do 5% divided by 17. So interest on any stock holding, you're looking at 3%. 3% for those 3 weeks. Okay, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Let's call it 3%. So if we're looking at a batch that's worth £3 million, 3% of £3 million is the cost of that delay for 3 weeks per batch. Now, let's say that cost is £20 million. No, it won't be as high as 20 million, but it could be as much as 100, 150,000 because of that delay. And nobody's measuring it. Nobody's measuring this area in the cost of quality in the team. So they don't realize by keeping the headcount down by one person, they're costing themselves, taking off the salary of the person that they could employ, 120,000. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't do the maths completely for you there. I will do for next time I talk about this topic, but I suggest you think about it for your business and talk to your finance team. Tell them about the impact of not having sufficient resource in quality and what it actually means to the business and customer service and the likelihood of new orders. And of course, turnaround. Turnaround in the number of batches that they can sell in a year. And then they'll soon be listening to you and looking at, well, how many people do we need? Yeah. Don't over-egg it though. As soon as you over-egg it, they don't believe you next time. Make sure you give them a realistic number of what they're actually going to save, because they'll be relating that cost to that profit within the books that they use within the accounts for the business. And if you're shown at the end of it to not be demonstrating the actual facts, then they won't be willing to listen to you next time. But really, this is an excellent way to justify the resource that you really need in quality, which I always see is quite under-resourced. Now, we talked about the other support activities. They're in the same position, so help them too. That's it for today. It's Paul Palmer. Talk to you soon.